Hello everyone, my name is Colin and welcome to the channel. So, for those of you who follow my blog, you may have noticed that my blog has been, well, a little empty as of late. There are a number of life reasons as to why that is, but not necessarily get into that too much other than the fact that they've been kind of draining a lot of my energy. Aside from the life reasons, however, there are a number of things I've been looking at in terms of the work that I've done on my blog and in my other writing as well, and I've come to a couple of conclusions. The first reason is that Signs and Shadows was originally conceived as a blog to talk about various movies and other media from the perspective of the Catholic faith, which is kind of what I'm interested in, especially in the realm of interactive media, video games, for lack of a better term, movies, and other really video media. For those who follow my blog, you probably won't see a lot of that, and one of the reasons why is because I realized that in terms of writing, my skills are less than adequate to the purpose. This is largely due to the media that I'm interested in, most specifically interactive media, also known as video games, as well as movies. Very visual type of media that requires descriptive language and other skill sets that I simply do not have. But I think the biggest issue with my blogging comes down to three main points. The first point being is that in my writing, my faith and basically life and other type of events are really kept separate from each other. Like, I talk about the faith in a very particular way, and then I talk about my life, and the two never really line up with each other. And that's true for reasons such as my interests are such that I do not have the writing capability to talk about them in a descriptive way that does justice to them, as well as synthesizing that with my faith. And the other reason for that is that the faith, in terms of what it proposes, it's what attracts me to it that is so fundamental that I have a tendency to talk about it in very basic terms. So by the time I actually get around to applying it to my life, actually, I never actually get around to that point, as you've seen in my writing. It's really just very separate between life events that I most often, more than anything else, complain about, and my faith on the other side. And really, I need to do a better job of kind of bringing those together. And I feel I can do that in talking about my interests, because that's how I approach my interests, is through my faith. The second thing that I've discovered about my writing is that it is really, really dry. And I don't necessarily mean that as a criticism so much, but I feel that it is not appropriate to a personal blog. When I write, I'm writing as if I'm writing a term paper. And again, that's not necessarily a bad thing, especially if you're doing it for like a publication or something like Ignitum Today, the social website that I write for. But for a personal blog, I found that my personality, in terms of the way that I express myself, in terms of the way that I approach things like humor, things that just kind of communicate who I am and just more aspects of my personality, they don't show up well in writing, or at least I don't write them out very well. I don't have the capability to write humor the way I would like to. When I find something funny and I type it in to my blog post software, they then realize that it's either, or at least I think to myself, that it's either too mean, too sarcastic, or it needs to be delivered in a certain kind of tone, and then I edit it out. And then, so a lot of what I would like to express just doesn't get out in a blog post. It ends up becoming something really stilted. And that's a problem for a personal blog, obviously, because what it's there for is to primarily talk about us as individuals, as writers, and that was kind of the hope for my blog. Talk about not necessarily myself, but just put my personal stamp on a current topic or issue or whatever it was that I was talking about. But I realized that it's not me. what I write is not me. It sounds like some kind of tenured professor who has managed to suck the life out of whatever topic that he's talking about. And I don't like that. That's not who I am. I like to think that I'm more of a fun person, that I try not to take myself and things too seriously, and that causes problems when there's such a conflict of writing style. And so my third thing, which I was going to talk about, is kind of how my personality gets removed from the editing process, but we kind of touched on that already. The second and third reasons are kind of interrelated to each other. So my reflections over my work have led me to ask several questions, such as, how do I communicate? What am I trying to express, and how am I trying to express it? And is writing the right medium for that expression, for the things that I want to talk about and the way that I want to talk about them? And while I feel like I can improve on my writing to some degree, I've begun to wonder if video blogging and going to a video format and kind of having more of a raw speech blend of video and me talking, video blogging essentially, would be a better fit for my personality and the way that I communicate, as well as the things that I want to talk about that are very visual in nature. So the soul searching has resulted in me looking at this video formatting. I've experimented with this a little bit with a playthrough with a couple of family members that I've been doing on my personal YouTube channel. And I noticed that it's a much better way to present video footage, graphical heavy topics, and mediums such as movies and interactive media, to kind of put those together and to present them, as I say, a picture is worth 1,000 words, and I hate typing 5 words, let alone 1,000. So just presenting this medium in a video format and having me talk about it accomplishes a couple of things, such as the ability to present a video so that way I don't have to talk about it and you don't have to read me trying to talk about it, and save us both some pain. Another benefit would be that it allows me to kind of talk and stream my thoughts in a little more fluid way rather than in my writing, which is a painfully slow process. I do not write well, or put another way, regardless of the quality of my writing, it takes me a very long time to put out a blog topic of light length. And so with me talking in this format, I feel like I have a better way to kind of communicate what I'm actually thinking, and gives me more control over how I want to present it, while at the same time giving me greater flexibility in how I present the material and what I want to talk about. And finally, I'm hoping in this format that I will not be as tempted to hide behind a very rigorous editing process. I mean, I'm going to edit some of these videos because of all the and all the other stuff that I'm doing as I'm trying to put this stuff together. But overall, I hope that I'm able to communicate in a raw format to kind of just get how I talk, and kind of my personality will come through better through voice rather than the text writing that I do. Because honestly, I don't write in an expressive fashion, but I do talk in a much more expressive fashion. So I feel that by talking and presenting in a video format as well as with this speech, I'm able to provide a more real experience. Who is Colin, and what kind of personality is he? And that's kind of what I hope to communicate with this new format, with these videos. So if you're still with me by this point, you may be asking, well, what is going to be featured on this channel? Well, as the title of the channel suggests, God Games OTLI. OTLI will stand for Other Things of Lesser Importance. And what do I mean by that? Well, first off, I'm going to be talking about two of my biggest passions, God and video games. And I won't be limiting myself to those, obviously, but I'll be talking about other media such as movies and things like that, which interest me, as well as whatever topics of conversation that come up. But primarily, my initial vision of this channel is to talk about my faith, video games, and other interactive media, and kind of from a faith perspective, but hopefully to kind of talk about the two in relational terms to each other, especially with the sophistication of video games in the modern age with such, multi-billion-dollar industry. Requires some commentary out there, and I feel like there really isn't enough of it from a Catholic perspective, religious perspective, as well as just, I would say, a non-geek perspective. I guess that would be the best way to put it for right now, but hopefully I'll be able to clarify that further down the road. And I guess it's worth pointing out that this format isn't set in stone by any means, but I do hope to experiment with a lot of this. And so don't be surprised if you start seeing some inconsistencies in terms of presentation. I'll be trying out a variety of new formats and just different ways to kind of compose my videos and try to draw out the most in the topic itself without meandering too much. I have a tendency to do that when I speak. But yeah, hopefully you'll find this informative, entertaining, all that stuff that you expect from a YouTube video. And hopefully we'll get to learn something along the way. So stay tuned for more content, and thank you for listening.